Hi, this is Michael Becker, and welcome to today's installment of Mobile Insights from mCordis. And with me today is Paul Gray, the Director of Platform Services from Kik. And Kik is an upstart, really super innovative new messaging and over-the-top communications platform to help people communicate with each other, but also to help brands find a way to be able to engage and interact with those people as well. So, Paul, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And let's start out. What's Kik all about?
Sure. So Kik is a smartphone messaging app. We have over 275 million users on Kik, and about 40% of US teens use Kik. So we're very much a messaging platform for teens and young adults. They use Kik daily to send photos, videos, text messages. They can send each other GIFs. They can share content they found on their favorite app or website through Kik. And they're using it really just to have their kind of normal, everyday, private conversations that they would have with their friends. Chatting and connecting.
And how does Kik differ from all of the other messaging apps that are out there, say a Snapchat or a Facebook Messenger or Yik Yak or any number of the different acronyms that are out there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it's a very crowded space, and I think it shows that people have, they've really de-aggregated and unbundled their services and have lots of different apps on their phones for different use cases. So I think one of the ways I look at it is some services are public broadcast channels and others are private messaging channels. So I'd say things like Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter are effectively a public broadcast channel. You are generally consuming content. You're looking at other people's tweets or stories or posts. You might make a comment on them. You might post your own content. And it all kind of goes out into this loud, noisy room, and there's different ways that you can find stuff like hashtags that you might be interested in. But ultimately, it's about, I'm sharing some content out. Some people may or may not see it, but really it's about me kind of distributing that. Where we see Kik and people like Facebook Messenger and WeChat is more in that private communication. So it's the place where you're talking with friends about something specific. So it could be we're trying to work out what time the movie on Friday we're going to go watch, which session will we go see. So we're chatting about that. Or we're talking about something cool that happened on a TV show that we like. So it's more that private conversation that happens with smaller groups of people rather than the public shouting out what's going on.
Fantastic. And on your website, you talk about there is a way for marketers to kind of be part of that private conversation. And how does that work in the Kik environment?
So there's a couple of ways now I can take you through how we've rolled this out. Everything that we do has a very user-centric approach. So one thing that's unique about Kik compared to a lot of other messaging apps is there aren't really any ads in Kik. There's no pop-ups or banners or things that kind of fly in as you're doing something. Because messaging is such a personal thing, I think it would feel very off-putting if you opened your messenger and saw an ad like right at the top of the stream. It'd be like it's spam, effectively, an email. So we don't do anything of that nature. So we've thought about how do we build things that are user-controlled and user-relevant. And I can talk through a couple of them. I'll do them one by one, and then we can pause and ask questions. But they're Kik's promoted chats and bots platform, GIFs, which is something new, and Kik Points, which is a rewards program. So I'll start with promoted chats. This is something that we launched originally in the summer of 2014. And it was an interesting beginning as to how we came up with this. Effectively, you can think of it as a chatbot or an AI that sits within Kik that you literally chat to and send it messages. It's not going to a person, it's going to a machine. We've had a chatbot called Kik Team for quite a long time, and its purpose has been to help onboard new users and answer questions. So if you ask the Kik Team bot, how do I change my profile photo? It can answer that question and tell you what to do. But at the same time, we saw people sending it lots of unique and funny messages, so we started adding more and more content in and giving it a bit of a personality to the Kik Team bot. So a couple of years ago, we launched Promoted Chats, which was the beginning of Kik's chat or bot platform. And we worked with partners like Funny or Die, and since that time, I've worked with everyone from MTV to Comedy Central, Spotify, Burger King, all of whom have created these kind of chat-based interactions where users are talking to a brand and they might be getting something in return, be that text, be it photos, be it a coupon, be it video, be it some early insight into some event or some new product release. So
let's pause on that one real quick. Can you give me an explanation of how Burger King used this?
So Burger King used this to launch their chicken fries, and then later on another campaign for spicy chicken fries. So this was done last year, and they created a chatbot, which was Burger King was the bot, and you talk to it on Kick, and it replies back to you in this kind of lighthearted, comedic way. It sends you photos of the chicken fries, the new product that they had out at the time, and it also allowed you to unlock a pack of stickers, which were these cute little stickers featuring the chicken fries chicken doing different emotions and so on. So that was a fairly light one, because the whole goal there was really just to get people aware. Oh yeah, chicken fries are coming back. These are some great stickers. Now I can send them to my friends and go off and then find the nearest Burger King closest to me. So that was one example.
Now, does the chatbot actually initiate communications, or is it always initiated by the user?
So it's in line with our policy. It's always initiated by the user. There's a couple of ways now where people can start talking to chatbots. They can either just look up their username, just like I can look up a Twitter profile on a Twitter. And I think that's one of the real advantages. There's a big difference. If I follow a brand on Twitter, nothing happens. I have to wait until the next post comes out. If they post something that I'm interested in, I can ask a question. But if you're talking about a brand of Burger King scale or MTV and others that we've worked with who have millions of followers, it's pretty hard, if not impossible, for them to reply to every query that comes in. And I think a lot of questions just don't come in. People don't feel that comfortable posting that much stuff online in public. Whereas if it's a private chat between myself and the brand, I can ask it whatever I want without any concern as to who else is watching me talk to whatever brand it might be.
Wonderful. And how's the engagement been with of all of your users? You mentioned 275 million users. What percentage of them do you think are actually starting to integrate or communicate and engage with brands in this way?
So we've had 16 million unique conversations between users and brands. There's not too, I'd say there's probably about 100 or so brands on platforms. So it's been a very carefully staged rollout. And we've done that intentionally because we always want to make sure that we're doing what's right by the user, which is also then going to be what's right by the brand. So that's why, for example, a brand never starts a conversation with the user first. The user has to start the conversation with the brand. So we've paced how that's rolled out. But in terms of engagement, it's very high. Numbers of replies. I mean, there's been about over 500 million messages have been sent back and forth with brands. And in some brands, we're talking about millions or tens of millions of messages being sent back to them from their customers and people that are interested in their content. Some of them have done really well. Things that have really stood out are things around content, characters, IP that people are interested in. So movies, for example, has been a really great vertical that we've worked in. We've done a lot of film promotions with horror movies, with comedy movies. We did one late last year with The Maze Runner with Fox, which was a really cool execution where you were chatting to this chatbot that was called Talk to Wicked. And if you're familiar with the story of The Maze Runner, Wicked is the evil, omniscient organization in the movie. So the idea was you actually feel like you're a character in the second movie, and you make these choices, and depending on what you say, different things happen. You get different content back from the movie. They sent out exclusive gifts, which people loved and immediately started finishing the quest and sharing their content on other social platforms. So where there's a lot of creativity, there's really high engagement.
So Paul, as we've been talking about the platform, one of the things you mentioned was this idea of bridging that digital and physical world with what you call kick codes. Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. So a big focus for us is how do we really connect people from when they're out in the real world walking around doing things, and our teenagers are going to the mall, they're going to the movies, they're going to restaurants, they're hanging out at the beach, festivals and so on. How do we connect them to a brand in a really fast, easy way? And everyone is familiar with QR codes and the concept. It always sounded great on paper. You can scan this code and something happens. But a couple of challenges. One is that generally no one has a QR code reading app. So are you going to go to the effort to download one and install it just to see what happens? And having tested a lot of them myself, even when you do it, you generally open these really flaky looking browser experiences where you're not quite sure what's going to happen. So with a kick code, it's similar in concept, but I think we've tried to evolve it a little bit. It's a visually striking code. You can have a brand logo in the middle of the code. All that a Kick user needs to do is pull down on their Kick device and it scans a code and it immediately opens a conversation with a chatbot. And that chatbot would be the chatbot of the brand. So we can share a little video of an example of how it would work for a pizza, like a pizzeria, where you scan the code and something funny happens in the video, but in real life you would be able to scan the code, start chatting with the pizza bot, and start ordering your pizza or asking questions or maybe making a reservation. If it was a fashion brand like a clothing store, you could start talking with a fashion style advisor chatbot and so on. So very interesting way of how do you get people while they're out and about, maybe thinking about buying something or just being exposed to brands that they like, instantly talking to and engaging with those brands.
Are you on Kick right now?
Yeah.
Do you want to join my group?
Okay. Aww.
Hungry?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Absolutely fantastic. Now you're currently kind of a younger audience. You said basically between 16, 18 to early 20s.
Yeah, well, everything from teens up into early 20s. So yeah, it's a pretty big, broad range, but yeah, we're very much focused on that teenage, young adult.
Okay, and clearly as your platform evolves and that audience evolves too, you'll have a richer mix of the types of content that could be sent to your service. For those that may happen to be, say, 21 years and older, do you have any age gating capabilities with the platform? So, say, an alcohol brand or a more regulated brand that wants to have a conversation and engage a particular audience. Is that possible on your platform?
It is with some of our capabilities. So Kick Points is another product of ours. And I know we've done a Miller campaign, which had some stickers. And so that one was targeted. So yeah, we don't, I guess we're also a little bit different to Facebook and other platforms, and we're not, milking users for every single piece of information about them to build these really rich profiles that can then be hyper targeted. Our approach is, again, more user focused. So we don't try to build those profiles. We try to do the basics. So things like location, gender, device, and age where that makes sense. So we could support campaigns like an alcohol brand or something that needs more regulation. Even things like energy drinks, which have a lot of caffeine. Sometimes they want to make sure they target over a certain age too. So
and speaking of energy drinks, did you catch the Super Bowl yesterday with the puppy monkey baby?
See, unfortunately, based in Canada, we don't actually get the US Super Bowl ads, so I missed them all, and I haven't had time to.
Well, do an internet search, and there's a new Mountain Dew drink where they've mixed caffeine with a juice with the soda, and to kind of illustrate the bringing of these three very unique different things together, they created a character called the Puppy Monkey Baby, which was basically a mixture of a puppy, a monkey, and a baby.
All right, yeah. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, kind of creepy. But it's really important. You mentioned like the Miller example, though. I get that a brand is not using Kick to target a user, but to the extent a user starts initiating communication for an alcohol brand in particular, it's important that they've age gated that user before they start the communication. So it's exciting to see how your platform's evolved in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what's next? For example, you've created this really unique platform for both doing chats as well as doing sharing of GIFs and images. But what just dawned on me as well is the new Amazon Echo platform and Alexa. I could see Kick being and integrating a skill with Alexa where I could actually initiate communication, much like what Campbell's has done with Campbell's Kitchen, where I could say, "Hey, Campbell's Kitchen, give me a recipe. What's for dinner tonight?" Mm-hmm. And that integration, that vocal engagement would have Campbell's Kitchen recommending a dinner recipe for me this evening. So, given that, if you were to build, have you thought about building, say, an Amazon Echo skill, so people could be integrating with their Kick community through other platforms like the voice activated control of Echo?
Yeah, it's definitely something we're exploring, and it's really a journey. So the first chatbots were very basic, very, very dumb chatbots. You would say one thing, it would give you one reply back. We would call them stateless, so the bot doesn't effectively remember anything that you say to it, which really limits it. People still really enjoyed it, and I think it says something about demographic. If you're a young person that's grown up with Siri on the iPhone and Cortana on the Xbox and AOL Smarter Child when you were a kid, there's just been bots and robots and things all around you online, very primitive ones. So we've started primitive. We then moved to increase the sophistication around some of the movie bots, allowing them to have a sense of state, to remember what you say, to take and manipulate content you send to them and then send it back. So I think it is definitely going to be a journey. And I'd say the only distinction with something like an Alexa is they're audio-based or oral-based. You speak to it and it listens and processes that, whereas Kik is text-based. So I think they'll both work in different scenarios. Alexa seems perfect for the phone. If I'm sitting on the couch, I can just kind of talk to it. But if I'm out and about in public, I don't know if it's quite yet at the state where it is in the movie Her, where everyone's talking to their super intelligent AI. So I think for sometimes still people will prefer to send messages through text because then it just looks like you're typing on the phone. So we're building our tools.
I could see you guys integrating to that platform at some point. Like this weekend, Domino's announced an integration with Alexa. So now I not only can I text and tweet and post my order in, I can say, hey, Alexa, open Domino's, and it orders my favorite pizza. So I could see that similar interaction happening with your platform as well, because you're bringing so much capability to the table. It would be really important for someone to be able to do that. Okay, let's wrap it up a little bit. I think this is an amazingly exciting area that you've opened up for us, and I'm going to really encourage our audience and the brands that we work with to take a look and see how they might be able to establish this engaging conversation with their audience through Kik and such. So if you were to suggest 3 points for people to think through and where they come back, where might people start?
So point one, I would say this is the buzzword that I've started to read a lot this year. It's conversational commerce. I think chat is something, obviously Kik has been involved in the chat space for several years. We've been working with high-profile brands to build out chat-based experiences. Now in the last few weeks, it seems that everyone is also doing that, which is great. So I think it really validates the space. So I think point one is brand marketers and product marketers and even customer services and community managers and those sorts of business functions should start exploring chat and how you can achieve those sorts of one-to-one relationships at scale with users. I think that's one key point. Two, I would say, the increasing move to mobile, especially for younger demographics, the mobile phone is the computing device. Anything that's desktop-centric or trying to balance across multiple iterations is really going to be a challenge. And three, I think something that's really, from my perspective, is it's about opt-in and wanting to engage with content. So the Super Bowl is a great example. Like the ads are on Super Bowl, but there's a lot of hype and build up before that. There's a lot of creative campaigns which try to get people involved. That's actually what's more interesting. And I think if you look in the digital world, just the rise of ad blocking and some of the scary stats you're seeing into who's actually clicking on ads, what percentage of them is actually people, it seems that that's quite a challenged industry. So I think things that look at creating services that people want to engage in are really going to start to stand out. And the sort of traditional disruptive model of seeing where you can insert an ad or put a pre-roll or a post-roll kind of does annoy a lot of people, and maybe it's more people than it was originally thought.
Wonderful. So if people want to learn more, where do they go and who do they contact?
So head to kik.com. We have partners information there. We have some case studies and resources and ways to contact our team. We have offices in Canada as well as New York, LA, and San Francisco. And they can always write to partners@kik.com or follow us on Twitter. We'd be more than happy to chat to people that are interested in learning more.
Well, fantastic. Well, again, my name is Michael Becker, and you've been listening to an mCordis Mobile Insight program. And with us was Paul Gray, the Director of Platform Services at Kik, a new and innovative over-the-top messaging platform that helps people engage each other in a very intimate way, but also for them to be able to initiate and have direct and interactive relationships with marketers and retailers across all industries. So, Paul, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Michael. Have a good night.